Why didn't the Philistines want David to be a soldier in their army? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Samuel on walking through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 1 Samuel chapter 29, verses 1 to 11. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to 1 Samuel 29, verse 1. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Samuel chapter 29, beginning at verse 1. Then the Philistines gathered together all their armies at Aphek, and the Israelites encamped by a fountain which is in Jezreel. And the lords of the Philistines passed in review by hundreds and by thousands, but David and his men passed in review at the rear of Achish. Then the princes of the Philistines said, "What are these Hebrews doing here?" And Achish said to the princes of the Philistines, "Is this not David, the servant of Saul, king of Israel, who has been with me these days or these years? And to this day I have found no fault in him since he defected to me." But the princes of the Philistines were angry with him. So the princes of the Philistines said to him, "Make this fellow return, that he may go back to the place which you have appointed for him, and do not let him go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he become our adversary. For with what could he reconcile himself to his master, if not with the heads of these men? Is this not David, of whom they sang to one another in dances, saying, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? Then Achish called David and said to him, "Surely, as the Lord lives, you have been upright, and your going out and your coming in with me in the army is good in my sight. For to this day I have not found evil in you since the day of your coming to me. Nevertheless, the Lords do not favor you. Therefore return now and go in peace, that you may not displease the lords of the Philistines." So David said to Achish, "But what have I done? And to this day what have you found in your servant as long as I have been with you, that I may not go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king?" Then Achish answered and said to David, "I know that you are as good in my sight as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the princes of the Philistines have said, he shall not go up with us to the battle. Now therefore, rise early in the morning with your master's servants who have come with you. And as soon as you are up early in the morning and have light, depart." So David and his men rose early to depart in the morning to return to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. Coming to chapter 29, we actually step back in time to before the events of chapter 28. The Philistines are preparing to go into battle against Israel, as at the beginning of chapter 8 we found. They're going to be traveling to the northern part of Israel, and so traveling up the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea. When they get to Aphek, which is located about 12 kilometers or 7.5 miles east of modern-day Tel Aviv, they momentarily stop, most likely to rest. While in Aphek, the lords of the Philistines inspected the different regiments of the army until they came to the rear, which is where Achish had placed David and his men. When they saw David and the men, they immediately asked why there were Hebrews among their ranks, to which Achish responded that this was David, who had been the servant of Saul, but had since defected along with his men. David had been with Achish for about 16 months, according to chapter 27, and Achish found every reason to trust David, for he had found no fault in him. Now from chapter 27, we know that David had been deceiving Achish as to who he was attacking, but David, through his actions, gave no reason for Achish to suspect treachery. That's because, on the whole, David did treat Achish well. However, that doesn't excuse his lying, which was sin. Now, this didn't change the minds of the lords of the Philistines, who suspected that when push came to shove, David would turn on them and return to battling on Israel's side. Their reasoning had to do with David's reputation in Israel as a man who killed 10,000s, while Saul only killed thousands. How could such a man truly wish to fight against the nation who held him in such high regard? The lords commanded that Achish send David back to the place where he had been, which is Ziklag, a command that Achish reluctantly acceded to. Now when David heard this from Achish, David feigned having his honor hurt through this lack of trust by the lords of the Philistines. But in truth, even though the text does not say, we can see the providence of God at work here, protecting David not only from this battle, but from future conflict with the Philistines resulting from any betrayal at this battle. Perhaps David knew this too, but if he accepted Achish's request without protest, then Achish might have reason to suspect treachery. So it was that David and his men left the next morning for Ziklag, while the Philistines marched on to Jezreel, where the army of Israel was going to gather for battle. What will David be doing while the Philistines battle Israel at Jezreel? We'll find that out, beginning the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 1 to 10, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.